Not exactly dogs and cats living together, but it's a start. Maybe. President Donald Trump and New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani held their first face-to-face meeting today in the Oval Office, which is a highly watched encounter between the two politicians who are far apart in age and definitely not exactly in line with ideology. Let's start with Trump, who is, of course, 79 years old, the conservative Republican president, the MAGA guy, and Mamdani, who is 34 years old, Democratic socialist. Trump called him a communist, and the first Muslim and South Asian mayor-elect in New York City history. Reporters were briefly brought in afterwards, where Trump sat behind the Resolute Desk, as he did, and Mamdani stood beside him, and they described the talks as productive and respectful. Trump said they had a great meeting and emphasized that both men want New York City to succeed, a message echoed by several news outlets as they took it live. I just finished watching the coverage, just broke away from it as Trump broke away, and it was surreal. Knowing how these two were going at each other just in the news and not even knowing each other and seeing each other, watching this happen was something to behold and a great deal of, let's say, political knowledge on both ends. Trump playing nice, if you will, and Mamdani playing along with what's going on for Donald Trump. How long this will last, who knows? Now, the cordial tone marked a sharp shift from the months of long-time feuding between the two leaders. Trump previously called Mamdani a 100% communist lunatic and a nut job, both at different points of time. Mamdani described Trump's administration as authoritative and promised to be his worst nightmare. Mamdani would be the worst nightmare to Trump. That was the promise. Yet today's meeting, you couldn't really get that from that. Trump told reporters that the better Mamdani does, the happier that he will be about New York City and the states. He also insisted that the party labels didn't matter when it came down to making New York thrive. If New York is great, all is good. So that started with that one. So outlets like Axios and Guardians highlighted how this new language contrasts with the earlier attacks that noted a deep disagreements and just not maybe liking each other. But the friendly photo op did not show any of those things at all. Now, many people are agreeing that the meeting has not yet showed anything in particular, just the happy afterwards. But it's not just about symbolism in itself. The whole thing was about billions of dollars in major policy issues for New York City. New York depends on a lot of federal dollars, about $7 to $10 billion tied into transit, housing, and security. And some of that money has been threatened during the recent political fights. Trump basically says he's shutting everybody off. And so here's a way for the two to come to some sort of early agreement of what to kind of do for their places, even though New York's not so much his place anymore. Trump says he's from Florida now, but it is what it is. Reports say that Mamdani actually pressed Trump on affordability specifically, including housing costs and transit projects such as the Gateway Tunnel and the 2nd Avenue subway, whose funding has been frozen and questioned by the White House. Now, immigration enforcement is also in play for New York City, especially in the self-declared sanctuary city that it is, and access to federal security briefings for incoming mayors were always a key hot topic. Here's a big deal where Trump's sort of shutting people out of the knowledge as well going forward. Multiple outlets are saying this was something that was big in discussion. Now, several of them actually point out that the meeting happened just hours after the U.S. House passed a resolution denouncing the horrors of socialism, a move that many Republicans framed as a direct jab at Mamdani's visit there in D.C. and his socialist democratic identity that he is pushing for the world. Mike Johnson went out to talk about the happy coincidence and that the vote came on the same day as the Marxist mayor visited the White House, language highlighted by Fox News and some CBS News analysts as well. Mamdani largely sidestepped any questions about the resolution, saying his focus was on preparing for the meeting and fighting New York's affordability crisis itself, while progressive allies reminded reporters that his campaign centered on rent relief, higher wages, and fair taxes. The bigger picture brings out the whole thought process that the symbolism of the meeting and the large clashes that happened before possible bridge happened on this day here showed two visions of America. Mamdani's surprise win, powered by voters who are young and renters who are seeing the crush of not having the money to live where they want to live, and Donald Trump, who, oddly enough, many people who voted for Trump in the last election voted for Mamdani in this election, and the thing that holds them all together is money, affordability. People voted for Trump because they wanted change in the way things cost, and they voted for Mamdani because they want change in the way things cost. Just not quite getting them to come together well, at least yet. Analysts note that if these two can cooperate on basic issues, like keeping New York safe and affordable, it could show that even fierce opponents can work together when local and national interests overlap. Even Donald Trump can find a way to be accommodating in a way. We'll see how this thing plays out, in a month or so when Mamdani actually takes over the job, and whether it just flip-flops again. It will be what it will be. Until it isn't what it will be.